One, fillers. Use common English fillers like to indicate thinking or slight pauses. Use sparingly for experts. Example, host speaker. So the first point is about mindset, right? Expert speaker. Yeah, exactly. The book really emphasizes how your thoughts impact everything. Two, hesitation marks, qualifiers. Words like, sort of, kind of, actually, basically, really, soften statements or bridge thoughts. Example, host speaker. And it mentions negative conditioning from, like, the media. Expert speaker, right? How the things we see and hear can sort of build up these barriers. It's actually quite subtle sometimes. Three, repetitions and restarts. Speakers might start a phrase, pause, and then restart or rephrase it. Example, expert speaker. He talked about this technique, the swish pattern. It involves, it's about visualizing the change you want. Four, interruptions and overlaps. One speaker begins slightly before the other finishes, often to agree, add a point, or ask a related question. The alternating line structure will simulate this. Example, host speaker. So stress is the big one. Emotional, financial. Expert speaker, definitely. And it links that to the whole fight or flight thing, which can mess with hormones. Host speaker, right? Like testosterone production. Expert speaker, exactly, yeah. It inhibits those anabolic processes. Five, short utterances and sentence fragments. Break down complex ideas into smaller chunks. Use incomplete sentences where natural. Example, host speaker. Forgiveness comes up too. Holding on to anger. Expert speaker. Yeah, not good for confidence. Or your sex life, apparently. Host speaker. Makes sense. Forgive yourself, forgive others. Expert speaker. And seek forgiveness too if needed. That's the advice. Six, informal language and contractions. Use everyday words and contractions. It's don't, can't, where, you'll. Example, host speaker. Okay, so let's talk romance. It's not just about big gifts, is it? Expert speaker. No, not at all. It's more an attitude, thoughtfulness, fun, that kind of stuff. Seven, back channeling and agreement. Short affirmations show listening and engagement. Example, host speaker. It suggests telling her what you experienced during intimacy. Expert speaker. Yeah, building her up. Host speaker. Right. And in front of others too. Expert speaker. Okay, gotcha. Eight, tag questions.
Add short questions like Yimi, right? Or Nimi, isn't it? Or Yimi, You're an example. Host speaker. So foreplay is key, right? Really taking your time. Expert speaker. Yeah, until she's clearly ready for intercourse. Nine, hedging. Use words like maybe, perhaps, seems like, apparently, suggests, the book argues, especially when presenting subjective or potentially controversial points from the source. Example, expert speaker. And then there's this idea of soul ties. The book suggests these are like spiritual connections from past partners. Host speaker, okay, and it offers a prayer for that. From a specific viewpoint, expert speaker, yes, specifically for those who believe in Jesus, apparently. It's presented as a perspective. 10, conversational transitions. Use natural segues like, okay, so, all right, now moving on. Another thing is, example, host speaker. All right, so we've covered the mind. What about freeing the lover's mind? Expert speaker. Ah, yes, that's crucial too, because their state affects the whole experience.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into some pretty interesting material. It's David Michael's book, When a Man Makes Love to a Woman, Unlimited Stamina with Multiple Orgasms.
That's the one. And it came recommended by David DeAngelo, but Michaels himself is quick to point out this isn't, hard science.
Right. It's very much a personal take, isn't it? Written for couples, he calls them lovers, husbands, and wives.
Exactly. The idea is really to share insights, maybe some ideas to help couples deepen their intimacy, understand sexuality a bit better together, and, individually too.
So for everyone listening, our mission here is to kind of pull out those key concepts from his perspective. Ideas about enhancing intimacy, connection, all that.
Yeah, we're basically highlighting what the author thinks is most important. We'll sift through it for you.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll kick things off looking at mindset and physical stuff before anything intimate happens.
The foundations, basically.
Then we'll explore female orgasms. The book outlines quite a few types, which is fascinating.
Definitely a key part.
And then we'll look at the strategies he suggests for stamina, for lasting longer.
Right. Plus, he weaves in some other elements too, doesn't he? Like spirituality and even hygiene tips.
Yeah, quite a mix. Okay, let's dive into that first part then. What needs to be right before you even get physical?
It's interesting how much weight the book gives this. Part one basically says, look, great sex isn't just the act itself.
It starts way earlier.
Exactly. It starts with what's going on upstairs in your head and in your body.
Absolutely. And that first big idea is the mind-body connection. Super powerful.
He's very direct. Thoughts control the brain.
Which controls the body. Simple as that, but it affects everything, right? Including sex.
Totally. Makes you think about how your general outlook, how you view life, your relationships, It all feeds into your sex life.
And he points out how negative messages, maybe from media, maybe people we know,
Yeah.
they can really put up walls.
Yeah, like negative conditioning. It can become almost automatic.
But the good news, according to the book, is that we can actually work on that. We can recondition our minds.
Yes, through things like positive reinforcement, visualization, basically choosing what you focus on.
He even details a specific technique, doesn't he? The swish pattern. Learn from Tony Robbins.
Okay. Yeah, he apparently used it with a friend, Rob,
Yeah.
to break some long-standing habit. It's quite vivid.
Okay, walk us through it. How does the swish pattern work?
All right, so you close your eyes.
Yeah.
First, you picture the old habit really clearly. See it, feel it.
Got it. The thing you want to change.
Then you create this super positive, powerful image of the new you. The desired state without the habit, equally vivid.
Okay, old image, new image.
Then, and this is the swish part, you mentally smash the old image with the new one really fast, forcefully.
Whoa.
And as you do it, you say a word like swish or yes or change, some affirmative.
And you repeat that.
Yeah, faster and faster. Apparently, for Rob, doing it just once made a big difference. It just shows that power of focused mental practice.
Interesting how it uses visuals, feeling, sound, engages multiple senses.
Definitely. Okay, so alongside reconditioning, there's freeing the mind from stress.
Seems obvious, but he breaks it down, right? How stress really impacts things.
Yeah, emotional stress, financial worries. It doesn't just affect performance in the moment. It can cause hormonal imbalances over time.
He talks about the fight or flight response, doesn't he?
Exactly. When that kicks in, your body's focused on survival. And things like, say, testosterone production, they can take a hit.
Because the body's prioritizing dealing with the stress.
Right. It's like energy gets diverted away from those anabolic processes, the building up ones.
And related to stress, he mentions forgiveness. Or rather, the problem with unforgiveness.
Yeah, holding on to resentment, anger. The book argues it eats away at your confidence.
Which then impacts your intimate life.
Makes sense. So the advice is pretty straightforward. Forgive yourself, forgive others.
And maybe ask for forgiveness if you need to.
He also flags financial stress specifically, acknowledges it's a huge pressure.
But try not to take it out on your partner, basically.
Easier said than done sometimes, but
Yeah.
try to keep that stress separate from your intimate connection.
Okay, now the book shifts gears a bit into sexuality and spirituality. And we should be clear, this comes from a specific religious angle.
Yes, definitely. Important context for listeners. This section is rooted in Christian beliefs. The author presents sex within marriage as a spiritual act, becoming one.
He references Bible passages to support that view.
And then introduces this concept of soul ties.
Soul ties, what's the idea there?
The idea presented is that sexual intimacy creates these spiritual bonds between people.
Okay.
And for people following the Christian faith described, he offers a specific prayer, a model prayer for severing soul ties from past relationships.
Got it. So it's a tool within that specific belief system.
Exactly. He also touches on sin and temptation from that same religious framework.
Suggesting sex outside marriage, even lustful thoughts, are considered sins.
Yes. And the advice given is to flee temptation. Trust that God provides a way out. Again, it's crucial to understand that this is one perspective offered in the book.
Okay, understood. Now, shifting focus slightly, the book talks about freeing your lover's mind.
Right, because it's not just about your own headspace. Your partner's mental and emotional state is just as key.
It's a partnership, and blaming each other is a no-go.
Definitely not helpful. The advice is more about empathy. If you sense your partner struggling, approach it with sensitivity.
And he mentions reassurance, especially for women.
Yeah, suggests that consistent reassurance could be really important, even if someone seems confident on the outside.
He also recommends a book, Codependent No More.
By Melody Beattie. As a resource for digging into relationship dynamics, understanding yourself and your partner better.
And creating an atmosphere for sexual expression, tact seems important there.
Very. Especially if someone feels, as the book puts it, emotionally or spiritually starved. Prioritizing those deeper needs comes first.
And for the spiritually starved woman, from that Christian lens again.
The advice is for the husband to lead by example in faith through prayer. But it also cautions against churches that might feel, overly legalistic or spiritually dead.
Okay, let's move on to romance and setting the mood. How does he define romance?
It's less about grand gestures, more about an overall attitude. Thoughtfulness, fun, tenderness, creating security.
Like the everyday stuff.
Exactly. And he gives really specific examples of things to say, compliments about appearance, other qualities.
Asking about her day too, but with a small caveat.
Yeah, be prepared. It might open up deeper emotional topics. Also, telling her what you appreciate during intimacy.
And building her up in front of others, that's a nice touch.
Foreplay gets a big emphasis, too.
Saturate her with it was the phrase, until she explicitly asks for intercourse.
Pretty much. He also suggests listening closely to complaints. Sometimes they might be hidden requests for more romance.
Interesting interpretation. And if she compliments your appearance?
The suggestion is she probably wants a compliment back. He talks quite a bit about indirect communication.
Yeah, that line, many things a woman does or says is the opposite of what she really means. That could spark some debate.
For sure. He also lists things not to do. Criticizing her clothes, talking about exes, embarrassing her. Basically, don't kill the mood, create safety.
Right. Now, onto something very practical. Personal hygiene. He goes into a lot of detail here.
Surprisingly detailed, yeah. It's not just take a shower.
No, it's like dental care specifics, flossing, tongue scraping, mouthwash, maybe cutting back on coffee,
What?
even tonsil stones.
Wow.
And nail care, nose and ear hair, washing all the specific areas thoroughly.
It's comprehensive.
Explaining antiperspirant versus deodorant, recommending new underwear. It's really about those finer points of feeling clean and fresh for your partner.
Shows consideration, I suppose. Builds comfort and confidence.
Okay, last thing in part one. Penis size. What's the take here?
The main message isn't about inches. It's more about perception and function.
So perfect size depends on the woman's anatomy.
That's what he suggests. And more important than size itself is the hardness of the erection. Rigidity is key for stimulation.
Makes sense. And arousal helps. Good blood flow.
Yeah, apparently you can make the penis feel larger.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a potential benefit for overweight men mentioned too.
Losing weight might increase perceived length.
That's the idea noted in the book. Okay, so that's the groundwork laid in part one.
Right. Now let's get into part two. The experience itself. Sex.
It kicks off with channeling sexual energy with a kiss, kind of setting the stage, building connection from the first touch.
And then the big chapter, 8 types of female orgasms.
He lists clitoral, vaginal, anal, G-spot, thought, combination, multiple, and total body. Quite the list.
It really underscores the variety of female sexual response, but there's a warning for men, right?
A big one. Don't go in with a checklist or fixed expectations about how she should respond. That pressure can backfire.
The core message is that all women respond to feeling loved and connected.
Exactly. Some women might experience many of these types, some might experience none, and that's okay.
He also mentions a tip about sudden withdrawal during orgasm.
Yeah, suggests it can cause a kind of mini trauma from interrupted energy flow. Recommends re-entering, holding her, or gentle clitoral pressure as remedies.
And the book includes diagrams too.
Yes, illustrations of female anatomy for clarity.
Okay, diving into specifics. Clitoral orgasm.
Described with varying intensity. And he mentions female ejaculation as a possibility here, stressing it should be seen positively.
G-spot orgasm gets more detail.
Yes, including how to find and stimulate it. Positions that might help, like woman on top or her lying on her back with legs over thighs. Again, female ejaculation is mentioned positively here too.
What about the mind orgasm? That sounds intriguing.
It originates purely from thought, apparently. Fantasies, memories. The book suggests romance, kind words, even from afar, can trigger this. It can be subtle, unexpected.
Interesting. And combination orgasms.
That's experiencing 2 or more types at once. He suggests ways to stimulate multiple areas simultaneously: hands, mouth, penis. But cautions not to try it before she's already aroused.
Multiple and total body orgasms are mentioned more briefly.
Yes, those are listed, but maybe less detailed description in that section.
All right, now a really central chapter. Crossing the threshold of unlimited sexual stamina. This is focused on men's techniques.
The foundation here is strengthening the PC muscle, pubicucus,
The one involved in controlling urine flow.
and ejaculation, yes. The idea is exercising it, contracting and releasing, like stopping urination midstream builds control.
More stamina, better erection control, maybe even orgasm without ejaculation.
That's what the book suggests strengthening it can lead to. He uses this momentum analogy.
Like a car, faster stimulation builds more momentum towards ejaculation.
Exactly, making it harder to stop. The PC muscle acts like the brakes, or a buffer.
And he defines levels of arousal to help men know when to apply the brakes.
Yeah, a scale of 1 to 5. From just having an erection up to the actual ejaculatory spasms helps identify the point of no return.
And the techniques. PC squeeze type I.
That involves stopping stimulation at level 4, waiting for the urge to pass, repeating. Then at level 5, you actively squeeze the PC muscle to resist.
Okay. And type 2.
That's bringing yourself right to the brink. Level 5, pulling out halfway. They're doing 3 to 5 quick PC squeezes to kind of buffer the nerves.
Buffering nerves. Are there other ways mentioned?
Yeah, nerve buffering. Things to reduce sensitivity without losing the erection. Like light touching or kissing the neck, he calls that arching.
Arching.
Or gently touching the roof of your mouth with your tongue. Small things to momentarily shift focus.
And arching itself is also about sustaining that stamina zone, something about energy flow.
Maintaining balance, keeping things going.
Now, interestingly, there's a chapter aimed at women, a woman's guide to her man's stamina.
Yeah, speaking directly to women. Explaining that most men want to last longer, but maybe don't know how.
So women can help, be supportive.
That's the idea. Encouragement, understanding if he's trying these techniques.
And tactfully suggesting things if he hasn't read the book, framing it as her preference.
Exactly. And a really key piece of advice in there.
Yeah.
Never, ever ask a man why he isn't hard. Very damaging, apparently.
Good tip. Okay, focus shifts back to women with female orgasm hindrances.
Right. This lists potential obstacles. Some physical, like a full bladder or maybe enlarged labia minor.
Mental, like hindering thoughts.
Yeah. Or even health issues, misaligned spine, hormone issues, digestive problems, infections. A whole range.
Hindering thoughts get special attention.
Definitely. Emphasizes how disabling they can be for pleasure. Links back to the free your mind stuff.
Also mentions anticipating unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, encourages enjoying the whole journey, the parade of foreplay, not just focusing on the finish line. Create your own desire and atmosphere.
Okay, then the big question, how to have an orgasm, addressed to women.
It acknowledges the slightly odd premise of a man teaching this, but reiterates all the foundational stuff matters most.
Mindset, body, spirit, emotions, atmosphere. All that needs to be right first.
Attitude is key too. Being positive, present, communicating.
And techniques.
Stresses there's no magic formula, encourages creativity, finding what works personally, introduces a couple of analogies.
The fawn analogy.
Comparing pleasure to a timid fawn, and contact as the fulfillment it seeks. And it teases a bear cub analogy for later.
About teasing yourself. Approaching but not reaching orgasm to build energy.
Something like that. And again, strengthening the PC muscle is mentioned for women too.
Right. The final chapter in this part outlines 7 phases to an unforgettable sexual experience.
It's a roadmap, basically. Phase 1, preparing our mind, romance, communication. Phase 2, building desire, kissing, touch.
Phase 3, approaching the threshold, more intense stimulation, aiming for stamina zone.
Phase 4, crossing that threshold using the stamina techniques. Phase 5, satisfy her, ensure she orgasms.
Phase 6, man sustained pleasure. Phase 7,
The peak, the big bang.
and then there's secret phase 8, the post-coital connection. Holding, compliments, showering together.
Yeah, seen as a really powerful female aphrodisiac. Provides closure, security, deepens the bond.
Wow, okay, that covers the core sex parts. Now the bonuses. First up, the hormone study.
This focuses on a specific place, the Swiss Rejuvenation Medical Clinic.
And discusses hormone replacement therapies, HGH and testosterone.
Right, for anti-aging, athletic enhancement, medical conditions. That's how it's framed.
Testosterone's role in male potency is highlighted, levels declining with age.
Yes, and suggests therapy might boost libido, energy. Mentions HCG alongside it to prevent testicular atrophy.
And human growth hormone.
Described as identical to natural HGH. Notes it's approved for specific deficiencies in the U.S., but the clinic uses it more broadly. Lists potential benefits.
Like more muscle, less fat, better energy, sexual performance.
Then there's a list.
Yeah.
10 things to know about bodybuilding drugs.
Covering effects, legalities in the U.S., needing prescriptions, refrigeration, and pointing back to that clinic as a source.
Yeah, practical points if someone were considering that route, presented from the book's perspective.
Okay, next bonus. How to eat and lose fat.
The emphasis here is lifestyle change, not quick fixes. Introduces a free day concept.
1 day a week, eat what you want, within reason.
Seems to be the idea. The other days have rules. Never skip breakfast, regular balanced meal snacks, water only, no junk, stop eating before bed.
And it details balanced portions. Protein, carbs, fats.
Yes, gives examples of good sources for each, offers specific meal ideas, breakfast, lunch, dinner, sticking to the guidelines, low glycemic fruits and veggies too.
Snack suggestions as well.
It's quite a structured eating plan.
Finally, the workout bonus starts by saying physical activity is crucial.
Yeah, for hormones, well-being, even suggests alternatives if you have a sedentary job. List different activities.
Then gets into weightlifting.
Basics, yeah. Free weights versus machines, terms like reps and sets, gym etiquette.
And provides actual routines.
Detailed ones. Starter, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Specific exercises, sets, reps, schedules, targeting different muscle groups.
So it builds up progressively.
Exactly. A structured approach to getting fitter.
Well, that really covers a lot of ground. We've definitely done a deep dive today into David Michaels' When a Man Makes Love to a Woman.
For sure. We went from mindset and even spiritual ideas right through to the mechanics of orgasms and stamina.
Plus, the practical stuff like hygiene, diet, exercise, it's quite a range.
And hopefully for you listening, exploring this author's personal take has given you some concentrated insights, maybe a few aha moments, without feeling like reading a textbook.
Exactly. It's about extracting those interesting bits quickly but thoroughly.
So as we wrap up, here's something to think about. Understanding intimacy, connection. It really is an ongoing journey, isn't it?
Always more to discover. About yourself, about your partner.
Right. So thinking back on everything we've touched on today from this particular source, all the different angles, what specific part resonated most with you? What conversation might it spark? Or what might you want to explore further in your own understanding of desire and connection?